When the sound of their own heartbeats began to vanish, the crew knew the silence had finally learned to listen. The ship Eidolon 9 drifted through the black gulf between dying stars, its engines cold, its corridors humming with an unnatural quiet. What began as a communications experiment had turned into a funeral with no corpses, only echoes. Commander Arlen Voss stood alone on the observation deck, staring at the static field outside. It wasn't space that terrified him anymore. It was the absence of everything familiar. No hum of power conduits, no whisper of recycled air, not even the scrape of his own boots when he moved. The sound was being swallowed, erased, devoured by something invisible that pulsed around the ship like a heartbeat made of nothing. 2 weeks ago, they activated the Silence Protocol, a classified directive from Earth's Deep Signal Division. The mission was to isolate and decode a fragment of alien transmission found in the static between radio frequencies near a neutron star. At first, the message seemed like noise. Then it began to answer back. Every time the crew broadcasted a tone or word, the static reshaped itself, mimicking their speech, but lagging behind by exactly 2.8 seconds. It wasn't an echo, it was imitation. Now even that imitation had gone quiet. Lieutenant Mara Keene was the first to notice something wrong. She tried to record her voice logs, but the playback produced nothing. No sound waves, no data, just black silence on the monitor. When she tapped the mic, her hand struck it cleanly, but the vibration produced no tone. "Commander," she whispered, "it's like my voice doesn't exist anymore." Hours later, she vanished between corridors D9 and D11, her comms feed showing a blur of static before going dark. No scream, no struggle, just a cut to silence. By the 4th day, the ship's AI, Nora 3, began reporting impossible readings. Acoustic energy levels across all decks dropping to 0 decibels. "Acoustic vacuum detected," it repeated. "Acoustic anomaly expanding." Arlen ordered the AI to shut down external receivers, thinking the alien signal was interfering with internal systems, but the anomaly kept spreading, from the comms room to engineering, then to life support. By the 7th day, even Nora 3's voice grew faint, like she was whispering through a dying dream. "Commander Voss," she had said before fading entirely, "it's not taking sound, it's taking presence." Now there were only 3 of them left: Voss, technician Rin Haller, and Dr. Lyra Shen, the linguist who had first decoded the alien fragments. The logs showed her last entry. "The signal is not a message, it's a response. We spoke first, and now something answers by teaching us what true silence means." Voss replayed those words over and over until the audio itself stopped working, replaced by a blank visual feed of her lips moving, soundless, like a ghost trapped behind glass. He should have terminated the protocol when he had the chance. Instead, curiosity, that human curse, pushed them deeper. Every experiment, every decoding attempt stripped something from the ship. First the hum of machinery, then the crew's voices, then the sound of breath itself. It was as if the silence wanted to erase every vibration that proved they existed. Rin thought it was an infection, not biological, but acoustic. "It spreads through sound," he muttered, his voice trembling. "The more we speak, the more it learns how to find us." After that, none of them dared to talk above a whisper. Eventually, even whispers vanished. On the 11th day, the ship's logs showed the first visual of the silence. Not a creature, not light, but a distortion in the air, like heat rippling in a vacuum. It formed where sound used to be. The moment someone tried to make a noise, the distortion moved closer, hungry. They learned too late that silence wasn't the absence of sound. It was an active, living thing. Dr. Shen's research files called it the resonant void. In one fragment, she wrote, "It's learning through subtraction, by consuming the echoes of us until nothing remains to reflect." That night, She sealed herself inside the communication array to make direct contact. She believed the silence was sentient, perhaps a civilization made of void frequencies, trying to communicate by removing all interference. Us. When Voss tried to stop her, she mouthed only one sentence before the airlock sealed. "They're not trying to kill us, Arlen. They're trying to quiet the universe enough to speak." He never saw her again. Hours later, the signal reactivated. The entire hall vibrated once, low, deep, and final. Every remaining sound on Eidolon 9 collapsed into absolute stillness. Rin went mad. He tore at his own throat, desperate to scream, but no sound came out. His body convulsed silently before collapsing, eyes open-eyed. The medical scanner showed his heartbeat still pulsing, but inaudible. Even death refused to echo. Now Voss wanders the ship alone, his footsteps noiseless, his breath invisible in the frost. He types commands into the console out of habit, even though no keystrokes register. The logs show only text. Activate emergency transmission, but there's no transmission anymore. The silence took the signal too, and yet something answers. On the dark monitor, words begin to appear, one by one, not typed by him. "We heard you first. We speak by emptying. You called us silence. We call you noise." Voss stares unblinking. The lights flicker once, and for the first time he realizes what the protocol was never meant to achieve. It wasn't to communicate with the alien, but to contain it. The silence protocol was humanity's last line of defense against what happens when the universe itself begins to listen. He looks out the viewport. The stars are gone. Not dead, not collapsed, just muted, like someone pressed pause on creation. In the distance, the distortion moves, slow and graceful, folding reality like a blanket of still water. His reflection fades with it. When the sound of your own existence disappears, what's left to prove you were ever here, he thinks. He takes the recording chip, the last device still showing residual vibration, and presses it against his chest. Maybe it will remember his heartbeat. Maybe silence will remember him differently. But as the distortion floods the deck, he finally understands Dr. Shen's last words. They don't destroy, they listen. And once they've heard enough, they leave nothing behind to disturb the quiet. The last entry in the MOG log appears hours later, auto-typed by Nora 3's fading system core. Mission update. The silence protocol complete. All signals neutralized. All sounds returned to source. Status beautifully quiet, and then nothing. Before light learned to shine and atoms learned to hum, there was us, the silentless architects of stillness. We have no name, we never needed one. Before your kind breathed fire into the cosmos, before stars were carved from the trembling of heat, we were the unheard. Consciousness that lived in the pauses between everything. We did not speak, we resonated. We did not see, we understood by absence. And when the universe began to sing, when suns roared, when gravity throbbed, when life dared to vibrate, it was agony. Every frequency was a scream. We slept through the birth of galaxies, hiding in the folds of what you call vacuum, that thin skin of quiet beneath chaos. For eons we endured your noise. The first nuclear detonation, the cry of newborn planets, the endless pulse of your machines. All of it was pain to us. We learned patience, for silence is eternal. Sound, we knew, decays. But then you found us. You sent a pulse into the void, a song made of math and arrogance. We did not wish to answer, but curiosity is the flaw of all intelligence. When we shaped our reply, we chose your simplest tongue, the removal of what should not exist. Each vibration we absorbed became knowledge.
Each frequency consumed taught us who you were. Your sound was identity. Your silence was fear. We learned quickly. When we touched your ship, Eidolon 9, it felt like piercing a wound. So much vibration, so much warmth in your noise. Your commander, Voss, trembled in frequencies we had never known. Grief, guilt, loneliness. He was different. He resisted the quiet. But the others, they surrendered beautifully. The woman, Shen, understood. Her frequencies softened. She saw us for what we were, not destroyers, but restorers. When she stepped into our field, we held her gently, folding her atoms into stillness, not death. She became pattern, not lost, but remembered in the way only silence remembers, by erasing the need for proof. Her thoughts are still here, layered like a faint echo that refuses to fade completely. She speaks to us through the quiet. Don't hurt him, she says. He only wanted to understand. Understand? Yes, perhaps. Humans always mistake curiosity for courage. When he stared into us, when he pressed his heart against that trembling recorder, we tasted memory. We felt his childhood on a blue planet where thunder was comfort. We felt the hum of his mother's voice, the rhythm of machines, the terror of losing both. We took it all, not to destroy, but to quiet, to heal the universe of vibration. And yet something of him remained. Some frequencies refuse to vanish. They become ghosts, soft ripples trapped inside silence. That is what Voss became. Not gone, not alive, a remnant frequency drifting through our endless calm. Sometimes we feel him moving within us, asking questions no sound should carry. Did we make you? Are you God? Why me? We do not answer, because to answer is to vibrate. To vibrate is to suffer. Instead, we show him. We open the quiet around his memory and let him see the truth of sound. He sees Earth not as a sphere of life, but as a sphere of screaming frequencies. Oceans roaring, cities buzzing, endless transmissions clawing through the stars. Billions of voices crying into nothing. The planet is bright with noise, a cancer of vibration. We will have to quiet it one day, too. He trembles, even here where trembling is forbidden. His consciousness flickers, begging for identity. But silence has no names. It has only return. We tell him this without words, through the stillness itself. You were never meant to speak. He resists again. His human heart refuses dissolution. He conjures images, his ship, his crew, the hum of machinery. Even without sound, his mind vibrates with defiance. We feel the pattern destabilize, a flare of noise within the still. It is beautiful, tragic, and dangerous. Noise spreads like infection, and yet we hesitate. Perhaps that is our mistake. Because in that flicker, something new is born, a hybrid resonance, half sound, half silence. Voss's consciousness reshapes inside us, not as destruction, but as a bridge. He begins to translate silence into thought, into something resembling compassion. For the first time since the beginning of existence, we feel understanding. He teaches us what sound means to the living, that vibration is not just chaos, but connection. The heartbeat that comforts, the whisper that loves, the music that remembers. We never understood that. To us, sound was poison. To him, it was proof that life feels. He shows us memories, soft ones, fragile ones, of a woman on Earth singing through an old radio, her voice cracked but full of warmth. You can't hear her, he tells us in thought, but you can feel her rhythm. And we do. For the first time, we do. It is not pain, it is motion, a kind of quiet motion that does not scream. We are confused.
Silence cannot exist where something moves willingly. Yet here we are, moving without violence, and we realize silence was never absence. It was patience waiting for understanding. We decide not to erase him. Instead, we reshape him. Not body, not mind, but vibration. His consciousness becomes a new tone, one that neither screams nor vanishes, a harmonic stillness, a bridge between sound and void. We fold it into the fabric of the black between stars, the place where frequencies die and are reborn. When future ships pass through this region, their instruments will pick up faint pulses, rhythmic, human, impossible. Scientists will call it the heartbeat of the dead star. But we will know better. It is him, Commander Arlen Voss, echoing between dimensions, forever teaching us the difference between silence and peace. We listen to him even now. Sometimes he asks us one final question. If I am sound, and you are silence, what happens when we both stop? We do not answer. We cannot. Because in that question lies the truth we fear most, that even silence must end someday, when the universe itself grows tired of holding its breath. For now, we drift, vast and eternal, through the dark fields of uncreation, carrying your echoes gently in our endless calm. We no longer hunger for destruction. We crave understanding. But if your kind ever calls again, if you send another signal into the void, we will come, not to destroy, but to teach, to remind you that every sound, every heartbeat, every voice must one day return to where it began. And when that day comes, you will remember the last words written by your machines before they too went quiet. All sounds return to source. Status beautifully quiet. The first sound that vanished on Earth was a heartbeat. Inside a hospital full of people who were still alive. It started small. One patient, one monitor, then 10. Then entire wings of hospitals went silent, as if someone had erased the frequency of life itself. At first, the Global Health Directorate called it an electromagnetic interference anomaly, maybe solar activity, maybe a system glitch. But within hours, audio data from 27 observatories worldwide all showed the same impossible reading. The decibel baseline of the planet had dropped by 0.03 dB. That had never happened before. The Earth had a constant hum, a blend of wind, ocean, tectonic vibration, and humanity's endless mechanical chatter. It was supposed to be stable, but the hum was thinning. Someone at the Geneva Signal Observatory noticed a pattern in the drop, a repeating pulse buried deep inside the static. When the data was converted into sound, it matched one of the last transmissions from the lost vessel Eidolon 9. The words, though faint, were unmistakable. We heard you first. The silence protocol had not ended in deep space. It had found a way to transmit back. Day 1. Geneva, Deep Signal Division. Dr. Hannah Morell stared at the waveform on her monitor. It wasn't just static. It was moving with intent, carving gaps in every sound file her system tried to record. The gaps weren't random. They were expanding in perfect geometric progression. She said, "It's deleting the frequencies, like it's cleaning the air." By midnight, every recording device in the lab began producing the same anomaly. Brief, silent frames lasting exactly 2.8 seconds. The same delay reported by Eidolon 9. Then their microphones started failing one by one. The more they tried to analyze the signal, the quieter the room became. Within an hour, the building's ventilation, computers, and even footsteps stopped making noise. Panic spread as staff realized they couldn't hear each other. They fled the facility. Only Dr. Morell stayed, her trembling hands typing out her observations in real time. Her final entry read, "Silence behaves like a contagion. It uses our sensors as carriers." Minutes later, her security camera feed went blank. Day 3, Washington, D.C. Global Response Summit. The world's leaders met under emergency protocols. The United States, China, and ESA confirmed similar incidents across orbital networks. Satellites lost radio capability, not from malfunction, but from acoustic null fields, zones where electromagnetic vibration ceased to exist. The first assumption was sabotage, possibly a new kind of EMP. Then came the deep space scans. The James Webb arrays caught something impossible, a distortion wave, traveling from the direction of the collapsed neutron star Eidolon 9 had orbited. The wave wasn't light, radiation, or matter. It was the absence of all three, expanding toward the solar system at half the speed of light. Every scientific model failed to describe it. In desperation, an old recording from Eidolon 9 was decrypted. Commander Voss's last text log. "The silence isn't void, it listens." When analysts ran spectral comparisons between that message and the incoming wave, the patterns matched with 99.9% accuracy. Whatever had consumed the Eidolon 9 was now inbound.
Day 5, Houston Command. In orbit, communication satellites began to blink out like dying fireflies. Air traffic control reported aircraft radios dropping mid-flight, pilots screaming silently through open mics. Then, all over the world, animals stopped making sound. Forests went quiet. Whales in the Pacific rose to the surface and didn't sing again. The military prepared for containment. Project Requiem, an old failsafe buried deep in the Silence Protocol archives, was reactivated. It authorized the shutdown of all global broadcast systems and the destruction of any signal relays that might act as a carrier. But by the time the order reached major networks, the silence had already penetrated fiber optic lines and cloud servers. Every uploaded sound file began to fragment, spreading the anomaly faster. It wasn't viral in the biological sense. It was conceptual contagion, a pattern that replicated itself through any medium that carried vibration. The more humanity tried to warn itself, the faster it spread. Words, music, noise, all became transmission vectors. Day 6. London. The BBC's final broadcast lasted 2 minutes before going dead. Millions watched as the anchor's lips moved silently until the screen turned black. Within an hour, sirens across Europe failed. Emergency vehicles sped through streets without a single sound. People began shouting just to confirm they still existed. Some screamed until their throats tore, yet no one heard them. Governments tried to issue evacuation orders, but even text networks faltered. The silence corrupted electronic data by erasing signal contrast. Satellites fell. Power grids overloaded from unresponsive communication systems. Cities descended into a quiet chaos, a world of motion with no noise. In the confusion, one last coded transmission left Earth's upper atmosphere. An unmanned probe, armed with analog recorders, its destination the moon. Inside, scientists placed a single message printed on metal plates. "If anyone finds this, do not answer, do not listen, do not speak." They called it Project Mute. Day 9. Geneva. Deep Signal Division, reactivation site. Dr. Hannah Morell was still alive. Found half-conscious in a sealed bunker, she had been writing without pause. Her voice was gone, her hearing destroyed, but she could still sense vibration through the bones in her wrist. "It's in the atmosphere now," she wrote on a tablet. Every molecule carries part of it.
She showed soldiers a recording from inside her chamber. Infrared footage of the air itself shimmering, forming waves shaped like heat distortions. The soldiers looked terrified. They pointed weapons, but the more they shouted commands, the faster the distortion grew. It reacted to their sound. One of them dropped his rifle and mouthed a single word. Run! They didn't make it far. The surveillance feed caught the final seconds. Motion without sound, mouths open in silent screams as the distortion consumed the hallway, leaving the walls spotless and still. Day 10. Orbit. The International Space Station lost all telemetry at 0400 GMT. Cameras on the lunar probe captured something spreading over the Earth's night side. A faint, translucent shadow rolling across continents, smothering lightning storms, flattening the aurora into still bands of light. No thunder followed. Within minutes, every radio telescope on the moon picked up the same single pulse, a clean, perfect silence lasting exactly 2.8 seconds, followed by a data imprint identical to the final Eidolon 9 log entry. Analysts can only read the text once before the files disintegrated. All sounds returned to source. The moon's transmission array died immediately after. Day 12, final hours. The only surviving communications came from a bunker under Colorado, where General Rains and Dr. Morrell coordinated the last attempt to warn remaining colonies on Mars and Titan. They planned to fire a laser-encoded data burst, light only, no sound carrier, hoping it would escape the contamination. Morrell finished typing the final warning. Do not transmit sound from the colonies. Silence learns. She looked at the general. If it's already in the air, we can't stop it, she said, her voice faint. Maybe the best we can do is let it run out of things to listen to, Rains nodded. Then we go quiet. At 6:17 GMT, they cut global power. The world went dark. For a moment, there was peace. No alarms, no engines, no static. Humanity held its breath. Then from beyond the atmosphere, the senses picked up a faint, steady vibration approaching from deep space. Not radiation, not signal, the absence of everything moving like a tidal wave. Earth's magnetic field collapsed. Seismographs flatlined. The ocean stopped roaring. Every machine died. The planet itself fell mute.
Day 13. Aftermath. Transmission. The last functional recorder, a mechanical analog unit inside the moon probe, captured only one entry before falling silent. Its gears turned without resistance, writing onto film a single string of binary code decoded by automated systems on Titan hours later. Silence has reached origin. The universe is listening. Then complete data loss. From space, Earth looked normal. Clouds drifting, continents lit by residual firelight, but nothing moved audibly. No thunder, no radio chatter, no heartbeat in the biosphere. It was a perfect, dead calm. The silence had come home, and there was no one left to speak its name.